So next up, podcast listeners, we have Chris Wallace says Biden's speech is the best ever. So Chris Wallace says Biden's speech is the best ever. Typical Chris Wallace. So Fox News host Chris Wallace designated President Biden's inaugural address as the best he's ever heard after the newly sworn-in president called for unity across the country. The Fox News Sunday anchor labeled the inaugural address as the best out of the speeches he's heard since the former President Kennedy was inaugurated in 1961. Podcast listeners, this is classic Chris Wallace. I mean, he is just so excited that he did his job as a news anchor to get rid of Donald Trump by hosting one of the debates and completely and utterly hosing Donald Trump in that debate. I'm not going to say that Donald Trump didn't also do a pretty bad job in the debate, because I think he did. But then didn't help the fact that Chris Wallace was asking asymmetric questions all throughout that debate. So Chris Wallace did his job to get rid of Donald Trump. And to show you how crooked Chris Wallace is, he, of course, is a talking head during the inauguration and says, "That's like such a great speech." Oh my gosh, which speech was he watching? We have that clip, and here it is.
Martha, I thought it was a great speech. I've been listening to these inaugural addresses since 1961, John F. Kennedy, Ask Not. I thought this was the best inaugural address I ever heard. Obviously, a lot of this event today, a lot of the president's speech was colored by the emotion of the fact that exactly 2 weeks ago, 14 days ago, there was a mob of thugs, of insurrectionists, of domestic terrorists on the inaugural stand. And Joe Biden was saying that democracy prevailed. We were able to get through that. And he was talking about how we need to get through that in the future if we are going to be a united country. He talked about white supremacy, domestic terrorism. He said we must confront it. We will defeat it. My whole soul is in this, uniting our people. You know, I think it was less an inaugural address and more part sermon, part pep talk, talking directly to the American people, saying, hear me out. We have a right to dissent peacefully, but our disagreement must not lead to disunion.
That is classic Chris Wallace. He's literally giving you the litany of items that Biden talked about in his speech, and about, how unifying he was going to be and so forth. And then no sooner did the speech occur than Joe Biden gets to the White House and disbands the 1776 commission, right? The very commission that tries to create unifying history behind which we can all agree, which of course is the 1776 commission's purpose. But no, he disbands that. And then he, of course, halts the border wall because he doesn't believe that we are a country, which is, of course, why you wouldn't want a 1776 commission anyway. Meanwhile, Chris Wallace is like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. This is the best president ever. I mean, it's like the best speech I've ever heard. Joe Biden is in the early stages of forgetting a lot, or potentially the early stages of dementia, potentially, right? But certainly forgets a lot and has a difficult time remembering and articulating. And yet, of course, how can anyone expect that that would be the greatest speech? I listened to the speech, and it was all lies. And here's the thing. Chris Wallace talked about domestic terrorism, that the people that broke into the Capitol were domestic terrorists. And here's what I find interesting. If you were part of the 1619 Project, right? If you're part of that project, that's the project that the New York Times has promoted time and again, whose whole purpose is to undermine the Constitution of the United States and literally create a revolution in the United States to get rid of our republic and create a Marxist society. Without question, that is its goal. Aren't those people domestic terrorists that are literally trying to destroy our country? But they never talk about that. And who just disbanded the 1776 Commission? Joe Biden, who will no doubt embrace the 1619 Project. Joe Biden. And yet Chris Wallace thinks he's the best thing since sliced bread. He's just going to be so unifying. And if you want more proof of that, we should listen to the press secretary of Joe Biden, Jen Psaki, who had her first press conference when she was asked about unity. And we have that clip, and here it is.
It was a call to our better angels, a call saying, look, we've got tremendous challenges, COVID, the economy, racial injustice, climate change, but there's nothing we can't do if we come together. And there's one other thing he said that I think especially us in the media must know. He said that there is truth and there are lies, lies that are told for power and lies that are told for profit. And I think that it was a call to all of us, whether it's us on the air, on cable or broadcast, whether it's us on social media, on our Twitter accounts, understanding that we have to deal from facts, from the truth, to hear each other out, as he said, a right to disagree, but not a right to violence. This is the easy part, as has been suggested. Now he's got to turn words, rhetoric into reality and action, but I thought it was a great start.
So his view, the President of the United States' view about unity is to address the problems the American people are facing. What a bunch of BS. What does that mean? The question was, the president wants to unify people. Well, what about the Senate, which is now controlled by the Democrats, who want to convict the President of the United States after the House has impeached him? What about that? Because, we don't want the President of the United States to come back. And of course, Jen Psaki is like, oh, no, we're not going to talk about that at all. So that, by the way, was the very first press conference with Jen Psaki on behalf of Joe Biden. And so you have Chris Wallace is saying, oh, it's going to be such a unifier. I mean, this is the guy that's going to unify the country. And the rhetoric is so wonderful. And what I just don't understand is a critical thinker in the news media would say, yeah, the rhetoric sounds really good, but we're going to see if the actual policies follow the rhetoric, if they really do want to reach out to the 74 million Trump voters who were very upset about the outcome of the election and believe, and we need to say this, that there was a lot of irregularities in the way the elections were held and the way that the actual election laws in most of the swing states were changed at the very last minute. No different than playing a sport, and at halftime they changed the rules to favor, of course, the team on the other side. That's exactly what happened here, and we know it happened because it's a fact. And unfortunately, of course, I don't think Jen Psaki and Biden is going to try to reach out to those 74 million voters because they're already saying, well, it's okay to go ahead and convict the President of the United States and we're just going to stand back and watch it happen. And so Chris Wallace, of course, and Jen Psaki, I mean, it just drives me crazy that Chris Wallace continues down this path. I don't even know why he's still there. And it's obvious why Fox is continuing to lose viewership because they let him be the face of these big events of inaugurations and so forth, where he's completely and utterly in awe of anybody who's a Democrat and, of course, thinks all Republicans are bad. And I think that's probably part of the problem, right? Because it's not about unity for them and it's not about truth for them. It's just all about winning and getting in control and basically leading. So that is Chris Wallace says Biden's speech is the best ever.